friends, welcome back to an all-new episode of Daphne's Detention. Welcome back, Internet friends. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Daphne's Detention. Today we will be going over the case of the two missing Nova Scotia children, Jack and Lilly Sullivan. Lilly, 6, Jack, now 5, has missed a birthday since they have gone missing since May 2nd, 2025. It's been over 8 months since anyone saw Jack or Lilly Sullivan. 8 months of silence, of searching, of a family and community of the Rcmp. Please bring me home, and still nothing. The family is still demanding answers. Today, I want to bring you some information that I had just received. Now, there has been some talk that Daniel Martel stated in the earlier months that his ex-girlfriend, Malaya Brooks Murray, the mother of Jack and Lilly, would come out and try to frame him, saying that he was lying, basically, right? He hurt me. He did all these horrible things to me. And I'm going to show you that in just a moment. But first, I'd like you to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We are on our way to 17,000 subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you for being here. So tonight, we will dive into some of the redacted files and quite a few of Daniel Martel's text messages over the past 8 months. We look at these abuse allegations, right? And the one piece of evidence, there's a pink blanket, right, that was torn in two. Both Malaya Brooks Murray and Daniel Martel both said out of their own mouths that they each threw a piece of this blanket away in the trash. This was in a clear trash bag, double bagged, thrown inside. Looks like around about a 4-foot, 5-foot diameter, large trash box, right? It's green. It sits by the end of the road. Now, there's no way possible that Jack or Lilly could actually get inside of this trash bin and carry it with them and throw it in the tree. So in my opinion, that blanket had to have been planted. There's no way possible that one of those two children could have went into that deep trash bin, ripped open the trash bag, which was the only bag in the trash bin, according to Mr. Martel, and then ripping it open with their hand and then somehow throwing it up in a tree, 3 foot, 4 foot up and on a tree, an alder tree is what the documents say, right? So in my opinion, that would not be a clue in the disappearance of Jack and Lilly. The only clue that we have is maybe a boot print left in clusters on the pipeline, right? But we were told other children were out there on an ATV helping to look for Jack and Lilly, and these children were around the same age. And they did come forward and say, yes, we were out there on the ATV, and one of the children actually got off to use the restroom. But they never gave an exact area of where this happened. But I do know that this said person does live close to that particular area. So what do you think? I want you to comment below. Do you think those clusters of boot prints there, was it Jack and Lilly? I don't know. You let me know. Now, what truly happened in that house on May 2nd, 2025, and why do I get the feeling someone out there is like, hoping we never find out what truly happened that night that the children went missing? You hear of all you hear of all of these allegations, and it makes you wonder, what did Jack and Lilly have to go through living in that home? Now we've heard allegations of CPS, how the children had multiple black eyes, and that is not normal. It is not normal for two children to have multiple black eyes. Then we hear allegations of neglect, that the children were neglected by both Malay and Daniel, right? We've heard from the step-grandmother, Janie McKenzie, that she was the one usually that would tell the mother when Jack and Lilly were outside. But for some reason, she did not call or text Malaya the morning of May 2nd, right? That Friday morning, to let Malaya know that Jack and Lilly were outside. She didn't even bother checking out the window to see if they had their coats and boots on. Because that usually, when she checked on them, is usually to see if they had their coats or boots. And if they didn't, she would contact the mother, Malaya. Is that a coincidence? How about this one? Why did Janie not go to town that morning with her brother? Out of every single Friday, right? Why not that particular day? Could the children have been missing way before the 911 call was made at 10:01? You let me know down below what your thoughts are. So let's get into some of these messages here before we get into our interview. I want to share these with you. And we're going to run over these before we go to our article. Daniel Martell. Now, guys, these were all earlier on in the case, right? So Jack and Lilly went missing on May 2nd, 2025. Throughout the months, Daniel was talking and he was trying to prove his innocence, that he did nothing to Jack and Lilly, that he did nothing to Malaya, that he was this perfect man, this perfect boyfriend and stepfather to Jack and Lilly. Well, Daniel says, well, everything is not the best. Meadow is going to CPS. So if you remember when the time Meadow was going to CPS was in late May, correct? So this message was in late May. Malaya is losing her. CPS also turned his other two children on him. They interrogated an 8 and 6-year-old. And I guess they said, I abused Jack and Lilly. One effed up day, right? One effed up day, he says. So in this document here, another one of Daniel Martell's, right? He goes on to say, Malaya again repeats, I can't find any, talking about when she was leaving, right? She was leaving the house. Malaya indeed had hardly any clothes there, saying that she was planning on leaving him. Anyways, he goes on to say, I know Malaya will probably say she left because of rugs, or I abused her, or the children, right? If I abused any of them, I'd be charged with DV. I don't abuse women. And first of all, and second of all, I don't abuse children. Yes, I admit I've used rugs and I'm not ashamed of it or hide it. But I hope this paints a clearer picture. And if it doesn't, well, at least you listened to it being read. I want you to leave your comments below. So as the months go by, we see more information coming out. This person says, Daniel Martell, you said earlier today that you didn't take any anger management classes. So someone says, I never did any anger management classes. You just made that up. But Daniel, I found a report from Friday, August 8th, 2025, which quotes that Daniel Martell said he recently started attending Narcotics Anonymous 3 times a week, and it is taking online courses in anger management, along with other courses on topics like depression, parenting, and substance abuse. He noted that all these courses are recognized by the child protection officials. And his reason for taking them was, I have to clear my name for CPS. Daniel says, all correct, except for anger management classes, which is false. Right? Someone also says, where did you read that Daniel hit Malaya the night the kids went missing? Do you have a reputable source? Yes, it is what happened. I am Indigenous, and this hits the reses all over the place to come and help. You think none of us talk? He hit her, and that's when CAS stepped in due to the police. Y'all think you know what happened inside that trailer? He has a long record of abuse to his ex-wife, girlfriend, and kids. But y'all think you know what happened, so keep searching and blaming her. Talking about Malaya. This is another post. This was the day that Malaya left, right? This is the day that Malaya left. He says Malaya was terrified with fear, couldn't look at me, and she was shaking. All she kept saying over and over was, I have to go with my mom. I have to go with my mom. Cindy came between us, and I said, Cindy, effing get, and waved my arms at her to go. Malaya couldn't even make eye contact. Whatever was said inside the ambulance changed Malaya. Cindy said, Malaya, get in the car now. She demanded her to get in. They sped away, leaving me at the time to only put my hand on the back window. And I said, I love you, honey, to Meadow. Then the allegations started flooding in. I don't abuse women or children. Malaya changed after that moment. It's heartbreaking, but that's what happened. This is a family member on the mother's side. So Malaya's mom's boyfriend's daughter, right? This one's really bad. She says that Jack was in a car seat and had left him upside down in a dark closet for hours. And you still stay with him, right? How did you watch Daniel strap Jack in a car seat and have him left upside down in a dark closet for hours and still stay with him? This is crazy. How could 2 children endure such a horrible place like that? How? It's ridiculous. This here is most likely, it's probably, I don't know. This is Daniel Martell. He says, I did abuse Lilly and Jack in any way. He probably meant to say I didn't. In any way. And as for Kiki, your false claims render yourself dissolve down to the basic form of straight unintelligent. Right? Truly heartbreaking. I'm the closest thing to a parent that Jack and Lilly will ever have. I don't hide, and I've been trying to raise awareness. I'm not perfect, but I'm not evil. There's that word again, evil, right? I want you to let me know, what do you think of these messages? In my opinion, it seems like somebody is getting in front of what's about to come but that's just my opinion. Now, let me take you over to this new information that I have here. Give me 1 second. We are going to go over to this new information. 1 second. All right. Nova Scotia missing kid's stepfather denies allegations says he puts full trust in the Rcmp. This is now up to date. As of January 16th, 2026, at 5:56 p.m. The stepfather of two young Nova Scotia siblings who disappeared 8 months ago denies he's ever been physically abusive to the children's mother, as alleged in the most recently unsealed court documents. I've always been very open and honest this whole way through, and I don't see no reason to stop now, said Daniel Martel in an interview with the Global News on Friday. Lilly and Jack Sullivan, aged 6 and 4 at the time, were reported missing on May 2nd from their home in Landsdowne Station, Nova Scotia, in PICTOU County. They were living with Martel and their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, at the time. The children's family had called 911 and said the siblings wandered away that morning, which is situated in a heavily wooded area. Despite repeated and extensive searches involving police, volunteers, cadaver dogs, the children have not been found. Among the documents unsealed this week is an interview with the police in May 2025 with Malaya discussed her relationship with Daniel. The documents filed to support applications for search warrants, and none of the allegations have been tested in court. When asked if Daniel was physically abusive, Malaya said he would try to block her, hold her down, and once he pushed her, the document read, which sometimes hurt. She said he would also take her phone from her when she tried to call her mom. So if you haven't seen the video that I made yesterday, go and watch it. I go over some new documents, the new unredacted documents. And it's a pretty interesting read. It'll correlate with this video here. She said I would sometimes be physical and hurt. In response, Daniel had to come out, right? He already got ahead of it with the previous messages that I just showed you. He said the allegations were part of a narrative that is meant to paint him as an evil monster. There's the word evil again. It was always Daniel's evil, Daniel's a monster, and with the painted narrative, the public automatically will jump to the belief of guilty, he said. Right? The Global News reached out to Malaya, who declined an interview. Martel said he was supportive of unredacting the court documents and has nothing to hide. I heard the opposite. I heard both y'all didn't want them unredacted. I never physically abused Malaya, he said. Our fights were about just typical things, ups and downs. That happened in relationships. Everybody has them. No, actually not. Everybody does have ups and downs, but not everybody is with somebody that does meth, right? Sorry, but it's true. But it never turned out to be physical in any way. How do you remember if you are on a substance that makes you have psychotic breakdowns, that makes you hallucinate? How do you remember? Something called psychosis, right? He said he's been for open end with police, and the media unwillingly submitted blood samples for a DNA analysis. According to Martel, the blood testing was in regards to the piece of the pink blanket that the officer seized and have confirmed belonged to Lilly. You remember the two pieces of the full pink blanket that both Malaya and Daniel Martel threw in a trash bag, double bagged, because Janie says, don't fill it too full, Daniel, right? And threw it in the trash bin, which is about 4 foot by 5 foot. No child age 4 and 6 is going to be able to get inside this trash bin and rip it, right? Rip the bag and then jump back out, right? Because this trash bin is as tall as they are. There's just no way. Or they'd get stuck in there if they got in there, right? Maybe they use a chair or something to get in. Who knows? So they just, crawled in this trash bin, pulled the blanket out, closed the bin back, right? And then threw it up in a tree down the road. Okay. Yeah, I believe that. What do you guys think? And they didn't need a warrant to have my DNA. So I was willing to do it, he said. I just want to say something for a minute. Do you think that this DNA, they've had the pink blanket since the very first day that Jack and Lilly went missing? Do you believe that this DNA that he just recently went to the Rcmp to give was for that actual pink blanket? What do you guys think? I want you to put your answer below, because think about it. Wouldn't they have gotten DNA way back in like May, June? You would think the only article that they found that could actually relate to Jack and Lilly, that was actually confirmed to be Lily's blanket, there would have been a DNA testing on it earlier on, right after they disappeared. Not a month ago. Not in November and December. I'm sorry. In my opinion, there has to be something else that had some type of substance, DNA, fluids, or something that please bring me home found. Just my opinion, right? Because he was asked to come in for a DNA testing, right? Around the same time. So if you put 2 and 2, I don't think that it was for the pink blanket. But I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. Maybe it was for 2 different items, and they just said it was for the pink blanket. What do you guys think? Makes you wonder, right? It goes on to say, Martel puts full trust in the Rcmp. In a year-end interview with the Global News, Chief Dan Morrow with the Nova Scotia's Rcmp Criminal Operations Division called the case extremely rare. It is extremely rare. It really doesn't happen, right? Especially in that small rural area, right? Where there's hardly any type of surveillance, anything like that. A quiet area, just woods all around, right? And then so many coincidences happen the morning of May 2nd. It really makes you raise an eyebrow, especially when you add in the rug use, right? Now, the allegations of what Malaya is saying, the black eyes, the children missing 41 days of school. That's over a month of school, you guys. Over a month of school they missed. What was going on in that house the day Jack and Lilly disappeared? Martel goes on to say police have received about 1,030 tips, conducted at 86 formal interviews, reviewed 8,100 video files, and conducted 7 polygraph exams. Word is on the street, the one polygraph exam was Patty. Malaya's grandmother. You know, the one that Darren was telling that Malaya gave the children to some rando. You know, the one that said Malaya gave the children away and then she was going to leave with Meadow in another car. But yet, why would she call 911 if she was planning on doing that? And saying her kids walked off. It makes no sense, right? The Rcmp have basically snubbed that idea, snubbed it. The news won't even give it any recognition, right? They won't recognize it. So there's been a lot of work conducted behind the scenes, Morrow said. In June 2025, the children's disappearance was added to the province's major unsolved crimes program, which offers a reward up to $150,000 for the information on the case for people with loose lips, right? Nobody has came forward with loose lips. What does that tell you? Meanwhile, Martel says he doesn't want to throw any theories out there or put accusations you already have, because you threw out the theory and accusation that Malaya gave the kids away. And now you backtracked on it. And he's limited to activity on his social media. He says he puts his full trust in the Rcmp and their major crime unit. I'm going to believe what the Rcmp believe and whatever they believe or whatever evidence that they may have, said Martel. It's because you're trying to figure out what kind of evidence they do have. I can only go based on what they have because they've trained professionals, they have the resources for the case, and they're the ones working on the case. I want you to put your comments below. What do you think? What do you think about that? What do you think about this new article?
Jack Sullivan's missing persons case are raising questions about the relationship between the children's mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, and stepfather Daniel Martel. Filed to support search warrant applications for the case, the documents lay out Brooks Murray's and Martel's responses to investigators' questions. When asked if Martel was ever physically abusive in their relationship, Brooks Murray said he would, quote, try to block her, hold her down, and once pushed her. She said he would also take her phone from her when she tried to call her mom, which would sometimes be physical and hurt. Brooks Murray declined Global News' request for comment. Have you ever tried to block Malaya, hold her down, or push her?
No, all those allegations are false. And
why would Malaya make this up? Why would Malaya make this up? Why? What would be the point to make this up? Think about it. Like, why would she make up these allegations? What would be the point? If she says the kids walked off or somebody grabbed them, what would be the point? Why would she do that to Daniel? She was the one that didn't want him to show. Malaya did not want this information coming out. So why would Malaya want to say this, right? For no reason. Malaya was the one that didn't want this information out, and she didn't want it out for a reason, right? Well, it came out. Freedom of Information Act. It came out. Maybe that's why she was reluctant on talking about it, because within a few days is when she came out. Remember at first she said she felt the safest with Daniel? Now she says all this happened. In my opinion, she was very scared of what happened. Very scared to come out and tell the truth. But since she's away from him and he can't get at her, and she's even told the CPS people when she goes there to visit Meadow that he parks next to her. He's even went after his polygraph and went to her grandmother's house, who cannot stand him. That's why they had to move to 1407, right? Because the grandmother did not care for Mr. Martell. That's why Mr. Martell stayed in the car the entire time while she did laundry. On Wednesday at Patty's. Yeah. So why would she make this up? It just makes no sense. And then not want it released. If she was making it up, guys, if she was making this up, lying, she would push for that information to get out, right? Think about it. If she was making it up, she would push for it to get out. She wouldn't want it not to get out. It's common sense.
And as I said, it was just to paint me in a bad light. That's.
What was that again, Daniel?
They said it was just to paint me
Gulp.
in a bad light. That's basically why there's all of those allegations of abuse came out. I never physically abused Malaya.
Martell says he approved of the
Why there's all of those allegations of abuse came out. I never physically abused.
Wait, what?
As I said, it was just to paint me.
What was that?
Allegations are false. And as I said,
Gulp.
it was just to paint me in a bad light. That's basically why there's all of those allegations of abuse came out. I never physically abused Malaya.
Daniel, don't you think if she was doing it on purpose, right, to make you look bad, if Malaya wanted to make you look bad, dude, she would have came out and said, yes, unredact that. Be the first thing you unredact. She would not. She wouldn't have said and caused an issue, right? Like she wouldn't have said, hey, please don't release that. Please don't release that. Because she probably feels like he's going to retaliate on her. Just in my opinion, right? That's just in my opinion. Retaliate. Kind of like the Spencer Tempe piece, you know, his wife Monique, right? They caught that guy because it was in a city, Columbus, Ohio, a city. Surveillance is everywhere, right? And I'm not saying Daniel's like that, but why would Malaya not want to unredact that information? Why? It just doesn't make sense. If she was doing it on purpose, she would definitely want to unredact it right away.
Martell says he approved of these redactions being lifted, adding not much has changed when it comes to his public reputation.
I've been, trying to keep the public up to date as much as possible. My image hasn't changed at all. It was always Daniel's evil, Daniel's a monster. And with that painted narrative, the public automatically will just jump to the belief of guilt.
He says he provided his DNA to run for...
He already knows what you're going to think. Daniel Martell already knows what you're going to think. He's putting words into your mouth. They're automatically going to jump to the belief of guilt. Do you believe he's guilty? I want to hear from you down below.
Forensics on Lily's blanket, which was found in the woods by family members on May 2nd.
They didn't need a warrant to have my DNA, so I was willing to do it. I watched them sign on the consent form. No criminal involvement in the case of Lilly and Jack.
How does he know it's on the pink blanket? Did they tell him it was the pink blanket? I'm just curious. Did they tell Daniel it was on the pink blanket? I'm curious. Because this new DNA analysis happened right after Please Bring Me Home found those articles. Makes one wonder, wouldn't they had already had his DNA from before? Remember when he was saying that they had given him some water and stuff? He says, so they already have my DNA. Janie said that she did not want them to have her DNA, so she didn't take any water or any food from them.
So it was nice to see that, that box checked for no criminal involvement. I signed my name on the consent sheet.
The disappearance of the Sullivan
The box was checked for no criminal involvement. I have not seen that. Have you guys?
siblings is still being treated as a missing persons investigation, despite the involvement of major crimes.
But when they do have a suspect and they dive into investigating that suspect or group of individuals, then it will pivot to a criminal investigation at that point.
What was that? What did he say?
Then it will pivot to a criminal investigation. When they do have a suspect and they dive in.
When they do have a suspect, they dive in
to investigating that suspect or group of individuals. Then it will pivot to a criminal investigation.
Then it will pivot to a criminal investigation.
At that point.
Ella MacDonald, Global News, Landsdowne Station, Nova Scotia.
What do we think? What do we think of this? I want to hear from you down below. You guys let me know your thoughts. Something really stinks to high heaven here. Are we trying to get ahead of what's to come? You know, when you get ahead of things so it doesn't sound so harsh when it comes out, right? Let me know your thoughts. And I appreciate you for watching Daphne's detention on this episode of Jack and Lilly Sullivan. Let's find Jack and Lilly Sullivan. Let's find answers. Have a good night.